I'm joined now by Brooklyn Councilman Lincoln Restler. So the question of the day, congestion pricing. Were you surprised that the governor decided at the 11th hour to put the brakes on it?
Shocked. Truly shocked. You know, after 17 years of advocacy around congestion pricing, Kathy Hochul had been the most outspoken supporter of congestion pricing in New York State, had invested hundreds of millions of dollars. We were ready to launch the program in weeks, and she pulled a 180. And I am horribly disappointed. Congestion pricing is critical for funding our mass transit system, and it's critical for reducing our dependence on cars and trucks.
So what's the politics of this? I mean, does this get her votes or make it more difficult?
I think this has been handled in such a way where the governor's come away with fewer friends after having pulled off this switcheroo. I'm really disappointed. I think many New Yorkers are extremely disappointed, and I don't think that the people who are against congestion pricing are happy with her, because she's still saying she supports it. She's just saying she's postponing.
So do you think this is really because she wants to help Democrats running for Congress and help Hakeem Jeffries possibly take control of the House?
It's possible. I don't know what her real rationale is. What I can say is that what New Yorkers want are elected officials who have conviction, who are authentic, who stand up for what they believe in. We all thought that Kathy Hochul was a champion of congestion pricing. She had been pushing hard for it for years. And at the 11th hour, 11th and a half hour, to turn off the faucet was really horrible.
So let's change gears for a second. This week, the City Council passed a bill that would give the City Council the ability to approve 20 or 21 appointees of the mayor. You passed the bill. The mayor is obviously going to veto the bill. You'll override the veto. Why is this a good idea?
By ensuring that mayoral nominees are reviewed by the council, we can secure more qualified, more competent, more ethical leaders in these really important positions in city government, overseeing our parks, our sanitation. You know, we need the best and the brightest. And the city council would conduct a vetting of candidates, hold a public hearing, and then vote. And I think that will yield better commissioners for the people of New York City.
And we should point out that this already exists in the state legislature.
Not just in the state legislature, where every single agency head in New York government is approved by the state Senate, but in Los Angeles, in Chicago, in Houston, in Phoenix, in all the other big cities around the country, most mayoral appointments are subject to the approval of their city council. And in Washington, 1,200 federal presidential appointments are subjected to the approval of the Senate. We're just talking about 20 positions here to make sure that people are properly vetted and that we get the most ethical people serving New York City.
So why did you leave out the police commissioner or the fire commissioner and like that?
The Speaker Adrienne Adams, who drafted this bill and is doing a terrific job, she selected which agency heads. My understanding is that she thought this was a good starting point, and these are important positions. I think if the police commissioner was included, that's the only thing we'd be talking about. Instead, we're expanding the advice and consent role of the council to include 20 more people. If it works well, we can expand it further from there.
So if this were to actually be considered, you would need a public referendum and it would have to be on the ballot. So the mayor decided to appoint a charter revision committee, which, if they make it and they have recommendations, would take precedence on the ballot because only one referendum can be on the ballot at any one time. Was this a political ploy on the part of the mayor, or is this really a serious attempt to change government?
There has never been a charter revision commission appointed so late in the calendar year as was done by Mayor Adams this year. And he only announced this Charter Revision Commission after the Speaker made clear she was moving forward with this legislation that ultimately needed to go to the voters for approval. I don't know why the mayor's so afraid to have a public debate on this issue. When he sent his administration representative to our city council hearing, she walked out of the room before answering questions. They did not engage in good faith. We should put this issue to the voters and let them decide. Let the mayor make his case, and we'll make ours.
So here we have a Charter Revision Committee, which you don't know what they're going to put on the ballot, but already Controller Brad Lander is saying, let's get something good out of this. Let's have some fiscal rules that they should consider. For example, putting in the law that you have to put a certain amount of money away in a reserve fund or rainy day fund so that if things are good, you put away more money. Is this a good thing for the city to do, to try to look for some fiscal changes so that this charter revision committee can accomplish something?
Comptroller Lander put forward a series of very smart proposals to ensure better fiscal stability for New York City. In addition to making sure that we have proper reserves, he also suggested that the city do a better job of funding and maintaining our infrastructure so that we don't have a bridge collapse or something horrible like has happened in other parts of the country. The truth is that we have no idea what this Charter Revision Commission is going to do. They've had 2 public hearings, but they haven't included, no members of the public even showed up. This feels like a political charade. It's a very dubious Charter Revision Commission from my perspective, and we have to monitor it closely to make sure that they don't put forward some recommendations that could really undermine the people of New York City.
Well, I have a question for you. Are there any issues you'd like to see in the charter revision that you would like to say, hey, Mr. Mayor, put these on the ballot as well?
You know, the issue that I've been pushing for in the City Council that I'm hoping to pass into law that would be subject to a vote of the people is to restrict lobbying in New York City. And I've proposed a bill that would limit how much elected officials could lobby after they leave public office.
Well, now it's 2 years, right?
Well, it's 2 years that a council member isn't allowed to lobby the city council, but the council member is allowed to lobby everyone in the mayor's office. So what my bill proposes is that for 2 years, after you've been an elected official in New York City, you cannot lobby anyone in city government. It's a full 2-year period where no lobbying is permitted. I think that's the right way to go. I'd hope that this Charter Revision Commission would consider putting that before the voters.
So just because the charter revision proposal is on the ballot, there's no guarantee that it's going to pass?
No.
So if it doesn't pass, would you try again to have the advise and consent law put on the ballot in the next referendum?
Absolutely. And there's language in the bill that we passed this week that the Speaker had drafted that might even have a special election for her legislation to subject more mayoral appointments to advice and consent. Or we'll figure out other ways to make sure that this issue comes before the voters. We supported this 46-5 this week. Overwhelmingly, the City Council believes that this is the right policy, and eventually we're going to get it before voters to give them the chance to ultimately decide.
So another issue that there's a lot of concern about in New York City is the rise in hate crimes, and especially anti-Semitism. What are your thoughts about what should be done?
You know, we have seen an uptick in hate crimes against Asian Americans, against LGBTQ New Yorkers, but especially against Jewish New Yorkers. But I'll tell you, as a Jewish New Yorker, I'm not the recipient of hate violence nearly as much as visibly Jewish people in my community, Hasidic Jews, Orthodox Jews. And what I've been working on in my district is a new curriculum that we've just piloted at 3 of our middle schools that focuses on educating young people about hate and especially about anti-Semitism, and educates our middle schoolers about the histories of African Americans, Latinos, and Jews in our community. Many of the hate crimes that we see are perpetrated by young people, and they don't know better.
So you want to reach them in schools?
We've got to engage them at a young age, educate them, and help them understand that they should be more tolerant of their neighbors.
On that note, we're going to have to leave it right there for now, but our conversation continues right after our show on our streaming channel, CBS News New York. We're back with a bonus conversation you'll only see here on CBS News New York. So, Councilman, do you prefer sunrises or sunsets?
Sunrise. If I can make it up, it's the best part. It's the best thing in the world.
Name something that gives you the creeps.
Cockroaches.
Cockroaches? Oh. Not rats?
Rats too, but cockroaches, they come into my apartment.
Yeah, I remember my first apartment was Cockroach City, so I get it. How would you describe your style of dress, and what do you think it says about you?
Whatever my wife approves, and I try to keep it simple.
Okay. And does that mean that, but that just, it does, what does it say about you?
What does it say about me? I try to dress to be comfortable, except when I have to put on this uniform of a suit. And I think I prioritize kind of comfort and ease over being a style
Although
star.
I want to point out that you have the most amazing socks
Well, credit to my mother on that one. She was the one who got
They're
them for me.
fabulous. So obviously you have definite
I think
style.
Chuck Schumer has raised the sock bar for all of us. You know?
Okay. So, does everyone deserve a second chance?
Yes.
Have you ever gotten a second chance?
I've gotten second chances all the time, and you know, I think every single person makes bad decisions at different times in their life, and we shouldn't be held accountable for them forever.
So what inspired you to get involved in politics?
I was a kid in just out of college and volunteered on the Obama campaign back in 2008, and you know, the entire political establishment of New York was with Hillary Clinton, and we realized that when we knocked on doors, greeted people at train stations, made phone calls, held house parties, we could make a difference. And
you did.
Well, we're trying.
But so is that the thing that made you decide to go for elected office? Or you just wanted to make a difference yourself?
You know, I started working in government shortly after that, and I've worked for elected officials, and the opportunity to get to fight for what I believe in is like an enormous privilege.
Yes. So what's your favorite way to spend a day off?
Sleep in with my wife. We'll make breakfast at home, hopefully tacos. And
tacos for breakfast?
Tacos for
breakfast. A man
breakfast.
after my own heart.
We have a lot of fun. And then go for a long walk, hang out in Brooklyn Bridge Park, and you know, go see some art or a movie.
So this is the last question, play tour guide for me in your district. If you had somebody that wanted to know about your district, where would you take them?
Well, I have the awesome privilege of representing the Brooklyn waterfront. And so stretching from neighborhoods like Brooklyn Heights and Dumbo, you can enjoy Brooklyn Bridge Park, the Promenade, historic streets of Brooklyn Heights, take the ferry up to Williamsburg and Greenpoint, and hang out in some of the best bars, best restaurants that New York City has to offer. We have a terrific district, and it's a diverse district, and I have a lot of fun running around it.
You have a favorite taco place? Just kidding, because I know you don't want to pick one.
I'll give you a couple offline.
Okay, good. Anyway, thank you so much for
Thanks
joining
for having
me, and thank you at home for joining us as well.